The Tea Party movement certainly had an extraordinary impact on Election Day, but it remains to be seen if it can also be a major force when it comes to actually governing. And joining us now, Republican Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota. She's one of the leaders of the Tea Party movement. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.
And congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Tea Party. Our brand new CNN Opinion Research Corporation poll just out today shows this. In October, the unfavorable number for the Tea Party movement was 37%. It's now gone up to 42%, a slightly bigger number as far as unfavorable attitudes towards the Tea Party. What's your sense? Why is this happening?
Well, it's interesting because they were so wildly successful at the polls just a couple of weeks ago, and I think they'll continue to be, and I think it really depends upon how they're being portrayed in the media. I think that will affect polls, but clearly people who are part of the Tea Party recognize it's not a political party. It's really just a set of ideas that have more to do with limited government, making sure taxes don't go up, and making sure that government lives within its means. That's essentially the Tea Party.
It was, by all accounts, widely successful, although there was some significant failures in Delaware, in Nevada, and some other states where there was a real strong Tea Party candidate who lost.
Well, you can't win them all, but they are phenomenally successful considering they are not a political party. They have no money behind them. There's no organization, no hierarchy.
Do you see it changing?
It's a random group of people coming together.
Do you think it will change?
In what way?
If the Republican establishment doesn't do what the Tea Party wants it to do, do you see the possibility of the Tea Party emerging as a real political party as opposed to a movement?
I think if the Republican Party decides to be big government, big spenders, then you'll see a significant shift away from the Republican Party. I don't see that right now. The vibrancy and the verve of this last election was energized from the Tea Party, and that energy was infused then into the Republican Party. So the people who were disaffected Democrats and independents voted for the Republican because they were rejecting the big government policies that were coming out of Washington.
Because some have already suggested, you know what, looking ahead to 2012, a Tea Party candidate as opposed to a Democratic candidate or a Republican candidate is a possibility. In other words, a strong third party.
I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think that you will see the two-party system intact. It's just 2 years from now, the clock has already started ticking on that race. I don't think that we're going to see, you'd have to have a rise in an entire political party in infrastructure. There's so much that goes along with that. I just don't think that we're going to see that happen.
This is what you told Politico, and I'll read it to you, and I'll put it up on the screen. I have been able to bring a voice and motivate people to, in effect, put that gavel in John Boehner's hands so that Republicans can lead going forward. All right, explain how you, Michelle Bachmann, the Congresswoman from Minnesota, enabled John Boehner to become the next Speaker of the House.
Well, I wasn't claiming sole responsibility. I was saying that I was a part of that effort, and I'm very proud to have been a part of that effort. I helped candidates across the country. I probably gave away $1.5 million to be able to elect other people. That's
from your own PAC money?
Out of whether it's my leadership PAC or out of my congressional campaign. And so I was generous in helping others get elected. I also spoke all over the country, helping other candidates. But during my time here as a member of Congress, I actively worked to point out the fallacies in the stimulus spending and the government takeover of health care. I also helped organize and bring the energy to bringing tens of thousands of people to Washington when they demonstrated against the government takeover of health care. That was significant.
But they refused to give you a seat at the leadership table.
Well, it isn't that they refused. This was an open election, and so in the process of, I was not the leadership pick, but in the course of canvassing, I saw that my election would not be the one that prevails.
Were you disappointed?
Well, I would have loved to have been able to bring my energy and my ideas, but I'm not disappointed. As a matter of fact, I called Jeb Henserling, my competition, on the day that I announced I was going to run, and I said, Jeb, my opinion is this. Whoever wins, whether it's you or whether it's me, the GOP conference will win. Both of us have great strengths. I think he has strengths in areas, I have strengths in other areas. And so I told him this will be the friendliest contest you'll ever be in. It was positive going in. I ran a positive campaign, and it was positive when I left because I really believe from everything I've seen from leadership so far, they get it. They want to make sure that we have limited government and that we attack this out-of-control spending. So I have real confidence in what conferences
Because the last time the
forward.
Republicans had that power in the White House and the legislative branch, they didn't get it from your perspective.
And the American people understood they didn't get it, and that's why they were slapped, you might say, by the American people. But now they've been given the confidence because people have rejected out of hand Speaker Pelosi's policies and, quite frankly, President Obama's policies. So now the question is, will Harry Reid listen to the results of the election night, and will the president listen to the results of the election night? Because now it should stop being about politics. Now it needs to be about getting America's financial house in
Where,
order.
if any place, do you think you can find some common ground with President Obama?
I think we can find great common ground with candidate Obama. When President Obama was running for the presidency, he abhorred deficits. Well, so do Republicans. Let's have agreement on attacking the deficit. Let's start there. That'd be positive. Also, I think we could agree with candidate Obama. He wanted to drive down costs in health care. Unfortunately, his prescription for Obamacare is driving costs up. That's why this weekend it was reported that the White House has given out over 111 waivers for companies and unions and universities so they can get out of complying with Obamacare. That's an admission of failure. If you have, and also it's picking winners and losers. It's also a denial of equal protection under the law. Clearly this isn't working, and I think we can agree with candidate Obama, and we can attack the cost drivers.
Give me one big ticket cut that you would make, $1 billion, $5 billion, $100 billion. Where would you find the money that's needed to deal with the deficit?
Well, number one, just go back to the spending levels of 2008. That would
give me a specific example.
That's 25% of the federal budget. Remember, the federal budget was no lean, mean machine when President Obama took over. In his tenure, in less than 2 years' time, he has driven up the size of the federal budget almost 25%.
But is there a specific cut you would make too?
Take every increase.
Department of Education?
Every increase that he took. Go back to
Department
the
of
level.
Energy. Give me a specific, though.
Okay, but go back. Go back specifically to where we were with the budget in 2008. That was not a paltry budget. Go back exactly where we were, and that'll solve a lot of the problems.
So there's no specific cut that you would propose right now, other than just go back to the 2008 levels.
I would go back to the 2008 levels because one thing, we can do across-the-board cuts, but I don't think that's prudent because there are legitimate projects that have to be done. Bridges have to be built. Water treatment systems have to be built. And so I think we don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face. We have to be really smart about this.
So, but you're basically saying just have an across-the-board cut to the 2008 levels.
No.
Well, no.
Go back to where the spending priorities were in 2008. Start there to begin with, because we have to attack the driver of spending. Go back to 2008. From there, then we can take the time to go through the budget and find out which priorities.
Is there a priority you want to cut?
That I want
from the 2008, is there something from 2008 that you would cut beyond that 2008 level?
I'll give you one example. Going back to when President Bush was in office, I disagreed with President Bush on No Child Left Behind. I thought it was a failure and a failed opportunity. And in that bill, the federal government ramped up spending more than we had ever seen for the Department of Education.
So you would cut that?
You could start that. You could start
well,
there.
that's a specific cut.
You start there.
And we'll have more cuts down the road we'll discuss. Michelle Bachmann, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.